Hardy Construction.
Hey everybody, it's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Alex and
Estrogen Sally.
And today's film is
World War Z, supposedly.
World War Z is a 2013 action drama horror. It's about a United Nations employee named Jerry Lane who traverses the world in a race against time to stop the zombie pandemic that is toppling armies and governments and threatening to destroy humanity itself. It's directed by Mark Foster, written by Matthew Michael Carnahan, Drew Goddard, and it's based on the novel by Max Brooks, son of Mel Brooks.
The fact that this movie had two writers, and this is what they came up with, makes me want to scream.
Danny, it had a lot of writers. Apparently, I know somewhere that they had an original ending that they actually switched. They actually shot a whole...
It was original? You mean as if the whole film wasn't original?
They shot a whole other film. Second half of this film. They brought in Damon Lindelof, who, as everybody knows, is the guy who wrote Lost, who was like one of the main guys that wrote. I think the main guy who actually wrote Lost.
Well, he's a genius. I'm sure whatever he would have written would have been better than this. But
no. What you see on screen is what they brought him into.
Oh well, then I hate him now.
Okay, so let's get into the history of World War Z. What do you know about it?
Well, I've read the book twice or so, but not for a while, so I'm a little rusty. But it's amazing. It's basically a guy recording events, like documentary style, of all different people around the world. Military people, just regular people, celebrities, everything. And it's every possible aspect of the zombie war that occurred a decade earlier. It's awesome.
And what kind of zombies were in Max Brooks' original novel?
George Romero zombies. So like slow, they moan, that kind of shit. Like Walking Dead style.
Were George Romero zombies, were they the ones that... I mean, I know what they are, but I mean, they walk slow, and do they use most of their energy to bite the people? Is that how it is? Like, that's how they save their energy in a way?
They don't really get fast. They just kind of, like, hobble around and moan and congregate into big groups when they hear each other's moans, and then, like, they can get a little fast when you get up close with them and shit, and they don't run out of energy. Like, there was a thing in the book about this one that kept trying to chase a rabbit down a hole for, like, 3 days or something. Okay. Like, it just didn't stop.
And that's...
Like, it's cool.
And the original novel was actually so, I guess, such a cult hit, even more than a cult hit, I would think.
Well, he wrote that zombie survival guide first, which was also awesome. It's all, like, he gets really into, like, strategic shit. Like, he talks about the politics, like, the way the different governments handle it, the way that you have to fight specifically underwater zombies versus like winter area zombies. Like It's really cool and detailed and like very intelligent.
So he goes to the very minutia of zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, like shit you would never think of, shit that I never thought of, that has never been done in any movies really. And so then they have the opportunity to make this movie, and what do they make? They make this. Oh my god.
So the movie was toiling around actually for a long time, and Mark Forster, I think he did direct the Bond movie that was after not GoldenEye. He directed Quantum of Solace, which was the follow-up to Casino Royale. And a lot of people hated that movie. I thought it was like, to me, James Bond movies, they're all kind of the same film. Like even
I've only seen GoldenEye and loved the video game.
GoldenEye was there's no question about that. Like when I saw the last couple of ones, like I thought Casino Royale was pretty, like it was actually better than average. It felt like a film. Quantum of Solace felt kind of like the old school Bond movies. But then what Mark Forster did with I'm sorry, did I say Quantum of Solace? I meant Casino Royale. Yeah. Quantum of Solace, Mark Forster, you can tell his style is it's very flashy and very visual.
He's not this movie wasn't badly directed.
No, it's not, but it's the story. It's the complete...
It has absolutely nothing to do with World War Z. If I saw this movie and it was called something else, I would never connect that this was World War Z.
I will say that this was the first zombie movie that I felt had a budget behind it. Is that crazy to say? Like, I mean, we've all seen zombie movies. I mean, I've seen more than enough.
Although the Dawn of the Dead remake was pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, it had money, but I mean, they were located basically inside of a mall for the most of it. While this one is it feels like a James Bond level of a zombie film.
Yeah,
that's what I'll give him that, because I mean, I feel like I'm pretty burnt out on zombie movies for some reason.
Well, because somehow zombies became the thing in the past, like, 5 years or something.
But I feel like I shouldn't. I mean, it's just another genre, you know. Who gets really tired of romance movies or action films, you know what I mean? But this, like, I felt like there's nothing really new done with the zombie genre, and this kind of like follows that.
Well, they kind of had an interesting way of
Dealing with
eating the zombies at the end.
right. But I think other than that, it's basically all the same kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
I like the movie. But let's get into World War Z and how it's different from the novel.
I mean, seriously, like if I'm gonna rate this based on is it a good remake of the book,
That's absolutely
I'm going to
nothing to
give
do
it
with
a
it.
fucking 0. Is 0. Like it's terrible. It has nothing to do with the book. Oh my god, I'm so angry. Actually,
Max Brooks said that it's only a film by it's only affiliated with the novel by name alone. It has absolutely nothing to do with the. Although
the only thing that slightly touches on it is the idea that there's a 0 case that started in, but they say it was in like Taiwan, but I think in the book it was in China, and then also that they kind of get into the idea of Israel being the smart ones and isolating themselves or whatever. Like that's the only connection.
It was funny because I actually had the novel. I found the novel somewhere. Somebody must have lost it. And I read like the first chapter while I was in Puerto Rico, and I was like really snoozing through it, so I didn't finish it. And then
Right.
I decided to. And I remember the only thing that I remembered I got through the first chapter, I think, which was patient 0, which was a young boy who was like mutating, who was a zombie.
And that doctor had to go and
right,
say,
and he was talking about old Sungzi or whatever the place he was talking about. He was talking about some bullshit.
yeah, one of the original place they all lived got drowned, so then they relocated.
And then Russia was trying to start war with them because they saw how weak they got. But anyway, I remember reading that. That's the only like chapter I think I remember. It's very much. There was a novel that came out after called Robopocalypse that was very much in the same vein, almost like the guy read World War Z, right? World War Z, and then he just like instead of zombies, it was robots, and it all starts out with them knowing that they destroyed the robot race already. I'm like, man, this guy had no shame at all with the thing. And Steven Spielberg was actually supposed to direct that movie, but that's all whatever. But in the World War Z novel, and then I didn't touch it. I know there was a long time. How long ago was the novel? It was probably about
like maybe 8 years. I don't know.
Okay,
Let
maybe.
me look at the Wikipedia. Really quick.
and what happened is that it got into like
2006 is when it came out.
Okay, so they decided, which is not, it's not too far away. But they said, they got into making the film, and Brad Pitt's company, Plan B, picked it up. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh shit, Brad Pitt. I still hadn't had any.
I had bad feelings the moment I heard that Brad Pitt was going to be in it. I like Brad Pitt.
He's been in a lot of good movies.
I love Fight Club. I love fucking
Seven.
Inglourious Bastards. All that shit is great. But like,
Seven,
he's too
12
big an
Monkeys.
actor to be in something like this. And there is no star in the book. There's no star.
Right,
There's
I wasn't
15 stars.
I wasn't aware of what the actual plot of all I remember was that it was a guy interviewing these survivors of the World War Z, and that I wasn't familiar with the book enough to know if his character Jerry Lane was actually in it, and the interviewer went through all his adventures.
I don't think he is. From my memory, I don't recall a guy named that, and if he is, they completely changed his character. There is no savior of the world. There is no disease that they give themselves to be immune to zombies. They fucking kill them with headshots. That's how you kill zombies.
I know. All I know is in this one that they shot the film, and there was a really notorious troubles on set with the film. Like Brad Pitt was having a real problem with. This is what was reported. He was having real big problems with director Mark Forster, like creative wise, and Brad Pitt wasn't really getting his shit together as a producer, and it was kind of chaotic. And they brought in Damon Lindelof after it was finished, shot. Like they actually had a whole second half. And I'm going to read a little bit about it right now. They actually went back. They asked Damon Lindelof to fix up the script. I think he did that with Ridley Scott's Prometheus. I don't know how well that turned out. I haven't seen Prometheus.
I like that.
And he, I guess with my finger quotes in the air, fixed this version of the film. I don't know how much of a difference it was in the, good or bad compared to the original ending, but Brad Pitt says that it was a lot better tone-wise, because in the original ending of the film, I guess the way the film splits up, it's funny because if you watch it, you'll see that Matthew Fox is in it. He plays like a helicopter pilot. Yeah, he plays the helicopter pilot that gets Brad Pitt's wife into the helicopter. And he's there for like 3 seconds. And I was like, why is Matthew Fox in this movie? I'm glad I read before. But originally, the second half, when they all get into the helicopter and they send Brad Pitt on his little quest. But before we got reviewing, I'm gonna give away the original ending. He he goes, and what they do is they start having wars. They actually get into an actual war. I think what's the battle of
the Battle of Yonkers.
Yeah, I think the Battle of Yonkers actually figures into the original script of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gets back home, he finds his wife that his wife actually had to trade sexual favors with Matthew Fox's character to get food and stuff. And apparently people who saw the original version were like, "What the fuck?" And the way they found
it just has nothing to do with anything.
And the
way
the way they defeat the original zombies were they found out that they're affected by cold, and I think that's what they use to destroy the zombie.
Well, that's kind of referencing the book, because in the book they freeze because the human would freeze in cold, and then they don't die, they just freeze, and then people can just go up and ice pick them in the head, which is what they do to deal with them in Canada and shit. Okay, but that's just one aspect of it. They also have they get into ships that turned over, capsized, and now the zombies spill over, and then they'll randomly emerge on islands and shit. Okay. It gets so awesomely detailed. What is this movie?
Okay, so this is from DarkHorizons.com. This is the original. I'm going to read it word for word real quickly. This is the part when he gets on the helicopter, or from Jerusalem, I believe. He makes out of a plane in Jerusalem, I remember. Okay, So here it goes. The plane... Oh, so when he gets on the plane bound for Moscow. The plane bound for Moscow safely lands. All but the healthy people are executed. Those who aren't are drafted into the service, and Jerry's phone is taken. Months later, a now bearded Jerry has become an efficient member of Russia's zombie clearing squad, who are now tasked with clearing the capital subway tunnels. Using Lobos, a zombie killing tool from the book, the team makes their way through, only to emerge above ground into the Battle of Red Square. Okay, so I got it wrong about the Yonkers, which is described as a much larger set piece than the Israel scenes. Jerry and his new British friend Simon head back into the tunnels, where Jerry figures out the zombies are having an extremely difficult time with the Russian winter. Two more lines. They try to inform the Russian command to extinguish their fires and let the undead freeze. They also meet up again with Sajin, I don't forget who that is, who is in the clutches of a rape-friendly Russian soldier. I guess that's the Israeli soldier, right? Saving her. Jerry gets to a Russian general and is able to turn the tide of battle. As things quiet down, he calls his wife. Turns out the wife is stuck in a refugee camp in the Everglades, where she's being forced to be the reluctant love slave of the soldier Matthew Fox, who rescued them from the rooftop in the early scenes. He warns Jerry to start a new life.
It would be cool if they got into the tunnels and the sewers, which is what they do in France. It gets into how the soldiers have to go in the sewers and nobody can navigate them, and it's how scary it is and shit. So that is just one of 30 awesome scenes in that book that are all completely separate.
So Matthew Fox tells Jerry to start a new life. Jerry does not, and sets out with Simon and Sajin across eastern Russia until they find a boat and head for the Oregon coast in a fierce effort to get his wife back. And I assume that's where the sequel would come in. So how would they...
if they make a sequel, I'm boycotting it.
So do you think that ending sounds better than the one that we got in the theaters?
Maybe, actually, yeah.
Really?
I mean, at least they would get into the tunnels
to find out Brad Pitt's
kind of have something that is exciting and cool. This was just stupid.
All right, let's get into this film version finally.
They ruined the possibility of an ending. They ruined, because if they made this terrible movie, they could still make another movie 10 years later and have a guy interviewing people and actually do the book.
Yeah.
But they've killed it. They've decided that now they're going to have all the zombies not see you because you're infected with disease, and that's the end.
So, I mean, it is a chance, but they left it open enough for it's not a total cure against them. It's basically camouflage. But let's get into the film itself. How does the film start out?
The family is just driving in the city or something.
It's Brad Pitt, his wife, who's played by Mireille Enos. If you ever watched the show The Killing, which I love, it's a great show on AMC that nobody watches, but it's great.
I haven't seen it.
And his two daughters, Spunky and Monkey. I don't know what their names are. And
Blanket, Daddy, Blanket.
That was good. That's great acting. What are you talking about? Okay, so they're stuck in traffic, and what happens?
First the guy knocks off his mirror, then there's a guy gets hit by a car, then there's an explosion. It's just chaos,
It's very reminiscent of what happened in Boston in a way, that everything's just kind of chaotic and people just running crazy. And it's bad to equate something realistic, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, whoa. It's kind of like when you see a disaster movie after 9/11. Well, if you're a U.S. U.S. citizen, it's kind of like emotive because everything does look like the film. Still, film companies are good enough to do disaster enough that it's like, ooh. What did you think about the initial panic of the film? Did you like it? I mean, it's 15 minutes in and they kind of just got into...
No, I didn't like anything about this movie. I understand that in itself maybe it was a decent movie, but I can't help but think of it as World War Z, the book, what is going to happen. And the whole time I'm looking for any hint that they're even slightly inspired by the book.
Do you think it was possible to make the original novel into a film, like an actual...
I think it would have taken a 2-part film, but I think it would have been sick and awesome. Basically, it would have been a very simple... I mean, I make it sound simple, but just a guy interviewing different people in different locations, and then, you know, as they're telling their story, show their story, like, you know.
I think it would have been obviously a completely different film. Like, a lot of people were saying, why didn't they have Ken Burns direct it? And Ken Burns is the guy who directs all those documentaries about baseball, and, you know, he's actually pretty good from what I hear. I remember watching his stuff, but I've seen some parts of it. And he's kind of like one of the first directors that used photography as a medium for telling.
It should have been shot documentary style.
Yeah, right, but that would have been a completely different monster, and it wouldn't have played to the same amount of people. Do you know what I mean? That want to see a summer block. I get it. Believe me, I'd rather watch that.
It's a cult film.
I'd rather watch that film. Believe me, I would too. Because watching this, I was kind of like, it was okay, but it wasn't crazy. I mean,
I'm not saying it should have been shaky cam running around like Blair Witch dizziness. I'm saying just the idea of a guy like Michael Moore type of guy or something interviewing people. I mean,
that'd be great if it was Michael Moore.
Like the way he goes about and he's in the film a little bit, but then he interviews people and stuff, like that kind of idea, like a documentary.
I wish it was Michael Moore. Like, you see him trying to run away from the zombies, he'll die 5 seconds into the movie.
The thing is, there are no zombies in the book in present time.
Right?
Really.
Yeah, it was all
a little bit. It's 10 years later.
So he'll just be running for the nearest McDonald's, not like running
exactly.
from zombies.
If McDonald's exists anymore.
So
it should be him interviewing people.
So what happened?
Flash back to their story.
So Brad Pitt and family, his family of 3, they're going getting scared, obviously, and they run out of this giant. They actually don't run yet. I think there's a tanker truck or some kind of truck starts smashing through everything, which opens up a space for him to drive through. And he sees. I thought it was pretty cool. That first guy who turns to a zombie. I got to give him props. I know you didn't like the type of zombies in the film, but I got to give props to that guy's body movement when he did it, because I remember seeing
there's some cool things, but
zombies
aren't fast.
I know. Okay, I get that. When I was on like AintItCool.com or something, one of those movie websites, and they showed like set footage, like somebody was just recording them filming the movie. And I remember seeing this one guy out of a car, like he steps out of his car. It's the guy that's in the actual film. I was like, oh man, because the way he did his movement was fucking amazing. And I was like, whoa, it was cool to actually see that now up close. And they actually chose that one guy to be the main focus of him being like the zombie attack, because he does all these weird jerky movements, but he's not really seen again in the film until you see Brad Pitt has an actual clear dream about everything that just happened.
Right.
Don't I say I hate that shit? We'll get to that. But okay, so Brad Pitt and his family drive through, the car crashes, and it's immediate chaos. I like his wife, obviously the actress Muriel, and or Muriel, I don't know how to say her name. But they go into a supermarket, right? They start picking stuff up, and it leads to a rape scene already happening, about to happen.
Then they have they meet that like Spanish family or whatever.
Did you like the? Yeah, well, it's a dumb question. If this wasn't World War Z, would you be fine with those zombies? Because they're 28 days later zombies.
I mean,
you're
not
a fan of
fast
zombies,
ones.
Right?
Sometimes it's done well, but
you like 28 Days Later, though, right?
I love that, but they're not zombies.
Okay, they're the infected.
And Dusk Till Dawn, the remake. Even though they're fast, I like it because it's just a well done, kind of funny movie.
Yeah, this film made me put that like division right there, because originally I was like, 28 Days Later it's a zombie movie, even though the director said it's not a zombie movie, it's an infected movie, even though he used every trait from Romero films. But watching it now, I realize there is a completely different type of zombie.
I mean, you could shoot a 28 Days zombie in the stomach and it will die.
Right. Yeah, that's true, because they're a human being. And I get it now, the difference between the infected and the zombie. And it's more like the remake for Dusk Till Dawn is actual infection, as opposed to the original Dusk Till Dawn, Dawn of the Dead, where people would actually come out of the graves and attack each other.
Oh yeah, I said Dust of Dawn. Yeah, I meant to say Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez, great director. So, so let's talk about. Did you think that they handled the chaos well in the streets? This is where I think the budget went really well into.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean there was some cool stuff happening,
and I think the budget even surpasses those sequences, like, especially the plane stuff. Like everything is great, but then like it's like they ran out of money for the last.
Then even
final
that,
10 minutes
even
of
if
the
it's
film.
not based on this book, and I get that out of my head, I'm looking at all the cool things happening. Why is it rated PG-13? Why aren't there exploding heads? Why is there no gore? Why are people not cursing and screaming "Holy fuck" when there's things running at them? What the fuck?
Also, the great part when they
made this movie, what were they thinking?
When they cut off the Israeli girl's hand and no blood comes out, that's great.
There are so many bad decisions in this movie.
That's because the money. It's Hollywood.
It's like they tried to make it for like retarded children. Or something.
Here's two things that are very obvious with this film, because I was thinking about, because I'm so jaded by knowing like Hollywood trade stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm the know it all of it, but there's two things definitely. PG-13 because they want more people in the seats. If you're not like 18 and over to watch an R-rated film, they won't let you into the theaters to watch it. That's why they lower the age to PG-13.
Right.
And they're so anal about having like violence in films like that. Even though I hear
it's a fucking zombie movie.
Although I hear that the Lone Ranger film that just came out, PG-13, I hear it's really violent, like, but in a disturbing way. And I was like, really?
Our culture is so backwards. And we're gonna try to Disneyfy a fucking zombie movie. It's a zombie is a human that is dead that eats human flesh. How are we gonna try to make that like kid friendly?
I've seen worse stuff on episodes of Hannibal, violence wise, that I was like, I can't believe this shit just got on television. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here's the second thing that was very obvious about the Hollywood factor of this film, besides the PG-13 marketing, is that the original origin, which was one of the points in the novel, I think it was one of the first chapters actually, after the prologue, is that the zombie virus supposedly starts in China, where I think a little boy is like fishing with his family and he gets bitten underwater.
Yeah, he gets bit on the foot or something. They're diving for treasure in their old home.
It's very dubious as to what actually started out. It's just something bit him under the water. Maybe it was a Chinese ghost or some shit like that. But in the film version, Looky Loo, it's, what was it, North Korea or South Korea?
He said it was Taiwan.
No, it was a Korean guy that checked it out. But I guess you just saw it recently. I just saw it like a week ago.
And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. It's just more the psychology of why would they change.
This is why I'm going to tell you why. This is what I'm going to tell you why. Okay. China is a huge. They put a huge state of putting money into American films.
Right.
Very big.
So we don't want to make them look bad.
Right. There was a film that came out that they shot a long time ago. It was a remake of. Maybe you just saw the trailer for it a while ago, but it was like Red Dawn. It was an old '80s movie with these kids. They fight Russia because they invaded the United States. They actually remade the film recently. It has like one of the Thor guys in it, and it's about China taking over, and we had to fight China. They actually redid the graphics and everything to make it Korea. That's how much Hollywood banks on China.
Well, they didn't have to change the actors or anything.
So that's how hardcore they are about being friendly with China, because China has a lot of money and they spend it on a lot of U.S. films. China has its own film industry where they actually have a Chinese movie with Kevin Spacey co-starring in it. It's hilarious. I was like, Kevin Spacey's in and it's a weird like Chinese film. It's not like something out of America.
Kevin Spacey's doing kung fu.
He said so. Yeah, I don't even want to get into it. You just look it up. And so yeah, even Iron Man 3 came out. China put half of the money in it, and they actually have their own version of Iron Man 3 where Tony Stark is in China for a little bit. It's not in the American version. So, I mean, that's how much they give a shit. There's another funny thing. There was a comedy movie that came out called 21 and Over about these three kids, these two white kids and this one Chinese kid, celebrating that the one Chinese kid now is 21 years old. Apparently, in the American version, it's all funny and whatever. In the Chinese cut of the film, it's supposed to be a statement of how the evils of America fuck you over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why. Sorry to get into that rant, but that's my other thing about China. So World War Z, they find that Spanish family, right? Let's talk about the token Spanish family in the film.
Oh yeah. Well, they take them in and feed them tacos and rice and beans.
Is there any characters from the novel show up in this film?
I
The Israeli guy, is that the guy that helps him out?
I don't remember the name. It's been a while since I read the book, but it does. Even if they use the names, the things that these people say and do, and the situations are completely different. Some of them vaguely resemble things in the book.
I was listening to
there was an awesome samurai gamer from Japan. That's like a whole fucking awesome 2-part story in the book. Like it's one of the early ones, and then it ends it, and like they don't even get into it at all. Like, oh god.
Maybe they're gonna mine the book for so much sequels. For so many sequels.
I think they might have vaguely. You remember the barking dog? In the airplane, there was a dog in the airplane.
Oh right, yeah, the little dog. What about?
Yeah, I think that might have been a vague reference to a scene where Paris Hilton has a dog in the book or something. Like there's a scene where all the celebrities like lock themselves in a house and like film it, and then like a mob comes and rips it down.
That's pretty funny. Because I got to listen to the audiobook a bit today on YouTube. Somebody put up the whole 6 hours unabridged with all the actors in it, but I was snoozing. I don't know what it was, but I think I got up to the chapter with the Indian guy. There's a guy in India who obviously something about a tanker tanker boat and all that shit, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I think it was just getting the actors.
Well, Mark Hamill was supposedly in that, and like
it's a bunch of named people, and they had the guy who directed Barton Fink. I can't think of his the guy who played the Jesus in the Big Lebowski. That character actor Turturro, whatever his name is.
John Turturro.
John Turturro, and it was fine, but the first guy, when they're talking to the Chinese guy, he sounds like a white guy doing a bad Ching Chong accent. Like it sounds like. And I was like, this can't be for real. Like this sounds phony, but I don't know who played him. It had to be obviously an Asian actor. And the Pakistani guy, and then there was an Israeli guy who, like I told you before, sounded like who did he sound like? The old Jewish comedian. He just sounded like a bad old Jewish. Huh?
Mel Brooks, who? I don't
No,
know.
not Mel Brooks. The other guy, the Jackie Mason. He sounds like that, and then. But the thing is, with listening to that, it didn't sound because it was played off. Like Max Brooks actually voices his own interviewer character. Mm-hmm. Well, he's actually pretty good. But then, like, you'll hear the Pakistani guy talking about how he just mistrusts the Israeli group when they had people coming over and opening the doors for people. And it just, you could tell he was reading off of something, you know? It didn't feel like he was acting. Even voice acting in cartoons, you can tell they're not reading. Do you know what I mean? And this, it sounded like they were just reading the book because they're obviously reading a book. It's like reading monologues off of a page. They didn't feel.
I've heard some really great audiobooks. But,
yeah, me too. I've
this wasn't one of them. I haven't.
American Psycho is a great one. There's a Jack. What the hell?
The Dark Tower one is sick.
Right, and Stephen King reads those, right?
No. There's two guys actually. One guy was reading the first three and then got brain damage or something. And died.
Did he get it from reading the book?
Maybe. So then, I think I got in a car accident or something. So then this other guy took over.
Did King write that into the novel somehow?
Maybe.
Anyway, I feel bad about that guy. So the book is very different, and the audiobook is very different in that way. They didn't keep me too much. I have the novel, so I'll probably read the novel. But anyway, so let's get back into the film. They decide he makes with the Spanish family. The Spanish family makes the terminal decision not to go with him, but they bring a little Hispanic boy finds his way to them. Did you find any fun in the zombie chases and stuff, or any of that?
Not really. No. I found the whole book, the whole movie, very boring and stupid.
Brad Pitt is playing an immortal guy in this movie. He is very immortal. He does not get hurt. When he gets hurt, you know he's not going to get hurt because he's the matinee idol of the film. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would at least say there were some parts of the film where I was like, whoa! Like I was like, holy shit! I didn't expect that to happen, especially when they meet up with the young, is he Pakistani or Indian doctor that is trying to find the code out. They send Jerry out to find out, but to ask questions. I guess basically to be a fixer and help this doctor.
He's like a UN guy. I mean, I can't say it anymore. It has nothing to do with the book.
He's trying to help this doctor and a couple of SEALs to find out the origin of what happened. And funny enough, like they pull a scene out of the movie Out of Sight that starred George Clooney where the doctor freaks out because there's a zombie attack. He runs up the back of a helicopter, like the one of those huge helicopters. he slips and blows his brains out by mistake, and I was like, oh shit, because I thought he was gonna be in there. I thought it was gonna be like Brad Pitt picking up like an RPG. He was gonna pick up 5 or 6 more people, and they're gonna save the world. But it was not that at all. It was basically Brad Pitt being Superman in the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
And from there, he finds out this little story. There's that one guy who was a pretty neat monologue without having teeth about. I don't even remember what he said.
Removing all the teeth, and he exports guns and shit.
They talk about the Patient Zero sequence. They talk about whatever.
I feel like this entire movie was just like filler, generic nonsense.
Yeah, it's like they took an original idea and they just made Cliff Notes generic versions of the movie.
I hate Hollywood, officially after this.
And they decide to go to Israel because apparently Israel knew this was going on ahead of time, because one of the spies over there, I guess, what do they call it?
They picked up transmissions from like Taiwan or wherever.
Yeah, they decoded it saying zombie or something like that. And the guy that they meet up was...
Oh, no, they picked up from India.
Was it?
Yeah, India.
So they find out that, okay, we got to talk to these guys in Israel about what's going on. And Israel has walled itself up from everybody else. And they're only letting in certain people. And what we find out, though, is the sound is affected. Sound affects the zombies in this. But I think that's in every zombie film. But the sound really affects them in this.
And then the part that bothers me the most is they got like some idiot singing on a microphone really loud.
Right, hold on, let me get to
sound
that.
Affects the zombies.
Here's the thing. Before that, let me just say how rock and roll was the scene where Brad Pitt had to ride bicycle away from the zombies. Like, I was expecting him to ride on a neon skateboard or something. That's how extreme that scene was.
He's like Back to the Future.
So here's the thing I got. It was so funny because it was very small, but I thought this was so funny. It's like a hidden racist way. Because Israel is like the savior, right? They're letting in all these people, and the one person who fucks it up for Israel is a young Muslim girl on the microphone. I was laughing. I was like, oh no. I was like, please don't let this be what I think this is going to be. Because maybe it's unintentional. Yeah, and I was like, oh no. So I went to the IMDb page, and you could tell that like a couple of people, rightfully so, because the way that's how I took it. I was like, wow, the only Muslim person in the film is the one that fucks up for everybody.
This is gonna start like another fucking riot.
It's gonna be a 15-year war now, and yeah. So that happens. A little girl would start singing on a microphone in peace, and that drives the zombies nuts. So they start crawling up the side of this wall.
Zombies don't like singing.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't like. They weren't too happy with the sound. If it was like a crowded house,
if they were singing in Hebrew, the zombies would have been all for it. But they are not into Arabic singing.
Brad Pitt notes that the zombies are running by, and this young boy is standing there. They decide not to attack him, and he's like, "What's that?" So it kind of sticks with him. He doesn't know why.
He figures it all out. One guy figures it all out.
He's a genius. He wasn't the smart doctor that shot himself in the head, but he.
Let's do away with the idea of everyone coming together and a million different stories of how everyone puts their brains together and figures it all out in different ways, and let's make Brad Pitt figure it out.
Danny, he's the white savior. So they find a way to get out of Israel.
He starts carving swastikas into their heads like bastards.
The zombies
every kill he does that.
The zombies know how to heal before they die. So he gets to the plane sequence. How are you going to get into the plane sequence? I was kind of like, by this point, I was like, where's this movie going to go? Like, I had no idea.
They just cut off the hand of one of his soldiers.
Oh,
the
Israeli girl. Israeli woman. She gets bitten, and he chops her hand off, and it's bloodless, and they don't show what happens. They kind of keep it off screen. And it was so funny because I remember there's a movie reviewer that I don't really give a shit about movie reviews, ironically. And she talks about, I liked her character a lot, and I was like, what the fuck did her character do? She didn't do anything. She just
there were no meaningful characters
besides Brad Pitt. Nobody really, even his wife.
Even he was like so boring.
I just like that the guy, the UN guy. I think he's from Africa or South Africa. Theory. It was Theory and Jerry. I just like their names. Like they should have had a dancing crew at the end or something. Okay. But yeah, so they get on explain the plane sequence and how this is how
I guess there was like a zombie in the baggage. I don't know, whatever. And then
how'd that happen?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then they start attacking, and so someone throws a grenade, and it blows up the plane. The plane crashes.
Blows up the plane.
Yeah, and then
he blows up the plane to blow up a hole in the side of the plane to make all the zombies flat. Meanwhile, he killed everybody else on the plane.
Right, and almost himself. And then I guess next he's like tied down, and they're interrogating him. Like,
you
what are
glossed
you
over
doing?
that plane crash, didn't you? A plane carrying about 200 people. They all blow up except for Brad Pitt and his Israeli friend. They made it out alive.
Yeah.
Just him and the girl, and he has like a piece of metal that's shoved through like the side of his stomach, which isn't like not life threatening. It's just kind of like the fat.
It's just a little painful,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
just
It doesn't kill to have metal impaled through you in a plane crash.
Impressive visually, money wise. But then we're led to the end because he's looking for the the world.
I'm telling you, they should have taken this fucking money that they used to make this movie and fucking donated it to charity or something. It would have been a much better use.
They're looking for the World Health Organization, and apparently they land about 15 minutes away from it. They crash land there, and
how convenient.
Oh yes, of course. So Brad
and
Pitt.
then they find out. He tells them their theory. Let's infect us all with meningitis or something.
He had to. What he figures out is that being infected with a terminal disease, which is curable, which can be cured, is what solves. Keeps you camouflaged from the other zombies. So the zombies are trying to infect others with the strain for whatever reason. The zombies don't eat people in the film, right? They just kind of just bite you and that's it, or.
Well, because it's PG-13, so they can't really show what they actually do, ripping you apart and stuff, because that would be, have a point.
The whole film goes from the zombie craziness, and then it goes into like old school zombie Romero slow shuffling zombies.
Yeah.
And maybe that was to recoup some of the budget that they lost shooting the original ending. You think? You really don't give a fuck anyway, right? But the latter half
the film was dead to me like within 10 minutes of the film.
The last
the most frustrating part is like I knew it was gonna be bad, and I'm telling people like this. I'm not even gonna see this film. It's gonna be terrible, and everybody's like, "Oh, come on, you can't judge it without seeing it. Blah, stop being so negative." And I wrote that review on our Tumblr, and like then I tried to see this with an open mind, and like it really proved every point I made.
And the last 15 minutes are basically it becomes a stealth film with them trying to go through this corridor of 88 zombies, right? So like it's a high number of zombies that are the old ones.
I mean, it was a creative idea, but it has nothing to do with anything.
So Brad Pitt makes a gamble and infects himself. It would be funny if he infected himself with genital warts. And then he
gives himself like incurable herpes.
He had to walk around with his testicles.
Yeah, if everyone just had herpes and they wouldn't bite you because of that, that'd be cool.
And it's funny because Brad Pitt is like, obviously he said that he wants to retire from acting. So is this like he won't be in the sequel?
He basically did with this movie.
And it leads to him giving this big speech at the end about going to find his wife who was taken off the warship that they were on. She was given a chance to live there because he was doing the work for them, but since they thought he died, they kicked her right off the fucking boat, which is very considerate. I guess it's a play on what the U.S. government does, and it leaves it open for a sequel. He's like, he uses the same.
Is it open for a sequel though?
Yeah, it is. That's what they made this for. They made this for.
Is the whole world's going to be dying of meningitis, like sickly trying to hurt
I feel
zombies?
bad for the two people that he saw. Like these were obviously terminally ill people. They're terminally ill in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
And also one more thing, going back to the very beginning, the part right after when they meet up with the Spanish family, he has a flashback of what happens, but it's like he's like a dream flashback. But he's dreaming what the movie filmed, and that always bothers me. It seems like they didn't shoot any footage to have like a proper dream sequence. They just had footage that they had before, so it's almost like Brad Pitt was dreaming of a DVD version of the movie. Anyway, whatever. So, on the scale of zombie films, it looks like they spent a lot of money on it, but you just did not give a shit about this movie, did you?
I just didn't give a shit because I love the book. And they fucking are. It's almost like they went out of their way to try to not be like the book. They tried as hard as they could to have no connection to the book.
On a zombie movie on its own right, what do you think? It works or no?
I mean, it's okay. I give it like a 6 out of 10 or something.
Like it feels.
The only real thing it had going for it was that there were some cool explosions and shit, but like there was no blood. There's no cursing. Like you don't need cursing and blood, but it's a fucking zombie movie.
Yeah, right. It's almost like
a zombie movie.
It's almost like if they had one of those sci-fi movies, like zombie movies, that they put a lot of money behind it. That's all it felt like. So I don't know. It wasn't. It didn't really break any new grounds besides having.
Walking Dead has by far more violence and realistic things happening than this movie, and that is a TV show.
So, Danny, what's your rating on this film?
I'm gonna give it like a, because it was a sort of okay movie without. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Blanket, daddy, blanket.
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Being afraid of being arrested by cops when he just chases down a baby formulas instead. Hold on, Danny. Hold on for a second.
And I was talking the whole time thinking it was recording to entertain you guys, and I was singing songs about my feet.
That's
and
Did I give my rating?
Did what?
Did I give my rating? No, right?
You said it was a 5 out of 10.
That I ran out of there or something?
I don't remember. You said no. You finished, and then you took a massive shit.
5 out of 10. I forgot what I was going to talk about. I forgot the joke.
I think you said it.
But anyway, so with that, do you recommend this? Let's get it.
No, I don't recommend this film. I recommend that you read the book.
So Danny, what's the final word?
Humphrey Bogart.
The Horror Deconstruction.